Hi there, my name is April Sawtell and welcome to my channel. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making this little baby quilt. You can make this any size you want to. I'll show you step by step how to make this. Here's the scraps I'm going to use. In this project, I've got an old scrub. I've got just little pieces here and there. I've got scraps. I've got a little bit of yardage. I've got binding. These are already some squares I had cut up for something else I did. And I've got a few pieces of, already made blocks. I'm going to try to incorporate those into it. I'm going to get a fussy cut over here, this Wonder Woman fabric, just because I'm trying to keep it with a little superhero theme. So this is an old piece of fabric I had wrote on one side. So I need to just cut around all those words because I didn't end up using that. And of course, I've got my favorite gingham here. Gingham and red. Red gingham is my absolute favorite of all time fabric. So I'm going to just see what I can come up with here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this right down the seam here. And open this up. And I'll cut this side here. Right here. And I'm going to disconnect the front from the back now. Okay, so now I've got all these pieces to work with. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to fussy cut however I can get these 6.5 inch blocks to come out, but not take too much off the other Wonder Woman. Because it's a very busy piece of fabric here. But it's okay because I will have bits and pieces of other things on here. But in the whole scheme of the whole quilt, you're not really going to pay much attention to that. I think it'll still look good. So here's the two pieces I've cut out so far. I'm going to start right out with having 2.5 inch strips. That's what I'm going to do with all of my fabric here. And now I'm going to go at 2.5 inches. I do have a lot of fabric, and I do have a lot of jelly rolls. But you know, I just love using up everything I have. And so this is why I'm making my own strips. My own 2.5 inch pieces. Because they're the colors I want. And I just want to use this fabric right up. So this one is a width of fabric. Now when I go to this one, I don't have a whole width. So I'm going to make this be the same size as that one. And these are my favorite prints. Anything gingham is my favorite. And red. And navy blue. Oh, I love red. Red is my favorite. Gingham is my absolute favorite. But I just love all colors, I guess. But oh, that's so pretty to me right there. So happy and fun. I have to change rulers. I'm just having a hard time to read that other one. So as much as I love creative grids, I just couldn't just look at it and tell where my 2.5 was. Like fast enough. So I'm a little impatient and I want to cut a little quicker than what that one was allowing me to for this project. I actually have a 2.5 inch ruler, so why don't I pull that out and use that? I need to make a 42 inch strip here to just go with my other one. So let's measure this. All right, I'll put 3 of those together. I'm going to need about 30 blocks for what I want to do, I think. border to be this. No. I'm thinking the back of this quilt is going to be this. I think that border is just a little bit too much. I think I might go with the plain red for the border for this one. So now, see how I work? Then I just made that decision when I just looked over and I saw this and I'm like, yep, that will be the back. I'm going to see if there's anything else I want. I don't know if I want to use this in this one or this. I don't think I'm liking this at all in this particular quilt. And I think this might be a little too light for what I want to, the look I'm looking for. I'm looking for a more brighter red, white, and blue. Okay. Boy, I love this one, though. I would love to use this as the binding, but I don't think I'm going to. All right. And it's going to be a baby quilt, so it's going to be pretty small here. I'm overthinking this. So this is what I'm working with right in the moment. And so I've got reds. I don't even know if I want to work with this one yet. I'm not sure on that, but I'll leave those there for right now. I know this is the back end. Here's my little pile of things I want to work with. I know I'm using all that. And I need to get some blue strips too. And I'm going to play around with that and see where this takes me. Let's go through the whole process together here. I'm sure there's other people out there that work the same way I do. You just kind of, I'm winging it. I always say that. I fly by the seat of my pants. It's whatever comes to you in the moment. You start out with absolute blank slate and then see where it takes you. This edge off right here. I'm just lining that bottom line on this fold. And I'm making sure I've got all 4 edges here, and I do. I'm going to flip this over, pin up my line on the bottom, and I'm watching my edge. And I'll cut. Oh, that might be a pretty border too. So it's either going to probably come down now, what I'm looking at, to a red border or a navy blue border. So I definitely don't think I'm going to be using this in this quilt. I didn't realize, but to me it's looking really orange. To find some order with what I want to do here. All right. I know I'm going to do this with strip sets. I'm going to do 3 strip sets. I'm just going to do like a rail fence, kind of like a basket weave. I'm just going to, I think I want to put them in, and I think I want to just kind of alternate it. So let me see. See, that's red. Can you see that red and that red? That's totally different. I want this red. I don't want an orange red in this quilt. I'm not sure on this yet either because it's just a little more lighter than I wanted for this particular quilt. So that's probably going into the next quilt. All right. How am I going to organize this? So this one I've got the red on each end with the blue in the middle. This one has the blues on each end with the red in the middle. And then I've got one here with just red, white, and blue. I've got these squares I'd like to try to incorporate in here as well. So I'm going to sew all 3 of these together. And what I'm going to do is some of these I'm going to have to, sew these together because they weren't big enough. Like this one and this has 3 pieces. This one has 2 pieces that need to get connected. So I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm just going to start doing that now. I'm just going to sew. The blue will be in the middle. So I'll sew this side to this side. I'll open it up. Then I'll sew this side to this side. Sewing strips is pretty easy. They're long and fast. Okay, I'll see you at the sewing machine. I'm going to follow my presser foot. I'm going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take these ones over to the sewing machine now. And I'm going to sew these two together to make a strip. Like that. And then I'm going to sew these three together to make a strip. And then I'm going to start attaching them all together. I'm just going to set the seam on all of these now. Because I've got white here, I want this seam to go to the dark side. So in order to do that, I need to open where the white is and push that right out. Push that red right out. I'll set the blue seam. And then I'm going to open it from the white side and facing me. And that's going to make that seam fall right to the dark side. A lot of times it just doesn't matter, but when you're using white or anything really super light, you do want it to fall to the dark side, if you can help it. I'm not very good at using this spray bottle, and I like a lot of steam, so my next tutorial, I'll make sure that I have the other iron up here. Okay, so if you look at the back of my fabric, the white is spread out. It's going to the left and to the right. So you don't see that seam through the white side here. Okay, because they're pushed out this way. Okay, so there's one strip done. I'm going to just hang this up over here. Just to all of my strips. It doesn't matter now which way these seams fall because it's dark in the center, and I've got such dark colors that it really isn't going to matter. I just want it a little bit flatter than that, so I'm going to give it a little more spray. It's just water that I'm using. I haven't ever used the starch sprays or the press ones where they lay flatter, but I am going to buy some. Because I really like to iron. It's just something I like to do, and I would like to just try it. I never really cared much before, but now that I don't know, I've just realized, you know what? I like to iron so much. I've always liked to iron. It's kind of strange. I used to iron everything. I always have had an ironing board set up in my house so I could iron every single thing. It was just something I like to do. So anyways, I do want to try that. I'm really excited to get ahead on these quilts. And I am so packed up with quilts right now to quilt. My daughter's been waiting for me for quilts that I've made, and I just haven't got them quilted yet. So this weekend, my husband's going snowmobiling, and I am going to take the weekend. I'm going to take this weekend, and I am going to get on my long arm. He put the pantograph handlebars on for me, so I haven't never used the pantograph, so I'm going to try that this weekend, and I have a ton of quilts. So I'll do some practice quilts with some fabric that I can just practice with a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is hopefully just bust out these quilts that need to be quilted. Usually I do free motion on my long arm, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and try the pantograph this for just till I get caught up. Okay, I've got all my pieces pressed now. My pieces were 2.5 inches. What I'm going to do, this should equal 6.5 inches now. I love having a ruler that's the same size that you're going to make. It's just so much easier for me. It's a little bit hard for me sometimes to get perfectly straight with when I have to use a bigger ruler for a smaller block. So it's nice when it fits perfectly. All right, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to start cutting all of these out 6.5 inch squares. And I'm just going to start making stacks of each color. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, while I'm trimming, I'm going to go ahead and trim these ones up. These were the ones that I made, and I'm not sure how they're going to work in here, but I'm going to try to use them. I'm just going to trim them up anyway. Now I'm just going to start playing. And I think I'm going to alternate. Row 1, I grabbed from the top left hand side. I grabbed the one furthest to the left. I put that on top, and then I just put the next one underneath, then the next one, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to label that on a piece of scrap paper with a pin. That's row 1. So now I know how to sew this. I'm going to just leave these all laying like this, and I'm going to come back with each row. That way I can just lay it out. It'll be really easy and not confusing if I bring them all over to the sewing machine right now. I'm just going to do it one row at a time. Okay, I'll see you right back here. Take row 1. I'm going to leave my pin in it. And I'm going to go in the same exact order. So like my fence is going this way and then that way. This is going to keep me right in line. So now I'm going to put right sides together. And I'm going to have to spin this first one around just to go ahead and get my seam in on this one, and then I can stay in the order. I am going to give it a little back stitch just because I like to, at the beginning and at the end. Okay, I'm going to break that thread. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finger press this one. I'm going to give this a good press after. Okay, here's the second one. I'm going to grab this. This is exactly in the order, so it's going to go like this. So now I can put this right here to this side. It's the first one you have to tilt upside down just to get that seam in. And then after that, you can just do what I'm doing here. I've got right sides together, and I'm at 1/4 inch seam. Finger press that down. Now I'm going to go right over to row 2, doing the same thing. Grab from the top and work my way over, keeping them all in the same direction. So I decided I want to do some sashing. I'm going to put a 1-inch sashing between all of the rows, and then I'm going to do an outline of it with a border. So I'm just going to cut up a bunch of... All right, so I see a couple of these just went the wrong direction. I'll just fix that real quick. What will happen when I do it, I won't need to match seams. I really just don't feel like matching seams. So I'm going to put this border in here so I can avoid that altogether. I'll show you how that's going to look. Put your white 1-inch strip, if you're going to do the same as I did. Just put right sides together. So I'm going to put sash in between each row. I'm going to press in between every row here. I'm going to push it down on the back side. I like it to fall on the dark side on this white because it is going to show through. And I'm just going to go ahead and press that all open. Now I'm going to attach the next row. So I'm just taking my row and I am going to put it right sides together, and I'm just matching it right onto the white now. And I'm going to go back over and I'm going to sew that at 1/4 of an inch all the way down, doing the same exact thing. I've got the second row attached on, so all I'm going to do is set the seam, and then I'm going to open it up and I'm going to push it out towards you. That's going to push that to the dark side. I'm so glad that I added the sashing now, because it really makes it look more comic booky. I really like it. Okay, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to take another piece of sashing, sew it to this row, and then I'm going to go ahead and add the next row. I'm just going to do that all the way through, and I'll be back once I have it all done. I've got all the sashing on here now. Now what I want to do is I need to trim this before I put the borders on. I'm just going to hold this up and let it fall where it wants to fall. And then I'm just going to press this out with my hands. All I'm going to do is take my ruler here, and I'm going to find the innermost side here, the innermost piece that that I can get to before it's all overhanging. See, here's my ruler, and then I start getting overhang. I'm going to line up my mark, just any mark at all, with this fold. And then I'm just going to bring it over as close as I can to this innermost edge that's under my ruler. When I get to that point, I'm going to trim off anything outside of my ruler. Now I've got that off. So that side is done. I'm going to carefully take this side, flip this over. So I've got my innermost piece here. The rest is hanging out. And I've got my 2 layers. And I'm just going to go ahead. I'm straight here. I've got a straight line on my fold. And I'm just going to go ahead and trim that up. And this is just a little quilt, so this is pretty easy to do. And then what I like to do is I like to just fold it in half and make sure everything meets up when it's folded. I bring all 4 corners together and bring the top, all of the sides together. And as long as it folds in half, I am happy. You won't have that much to trim off if you've squared up everything. It doesn't matter how much I square. I'm still going to be, cutting it off. It's because it's how your 1/4 of an inch is. If you can be really precise, I can't. I'm going to go down each side with a border, and then I'm going to do across the top and the bottom. And then I'll be done. I want to start right here on the side. You know, in all the quilts I've made, I don't think I've ever used a 1-inch border, so it's kind of cool. It's very thin. Or 1-inch sashing. I usually use a thicker sashing. I'm just going to go ahead now and cut all of these extra pieces off. I'm going to give it one more press, and I'm going to just take all the threads off. Now, if anybody wants to know what my worst part of quilted is, it really is this part. I just don't like taking the threads off. I don't like snipping them. I think it can be very tedious, especially on a huge quilt. I can't wait to try that best press. I've got to order it, actually. I don't have it even ordered yet, but I can't wait to try it. So I'm very excited for that. And I did look and saw, I can see that there's ways you can make your own. And knowing me, I'll probably do something like that because I'm pretty thrifty. But I'd like to start out with the real stuff and just see how I like it. If any of you use bus press, leave it in the comments and tell me how you like it. Or what do you use? Do you use something to make flatten your fabric out a little smoother? And you know, some people don't even like ironing at all, so they skip that whole process. We all have something that we're skipping out on, and that's fine. Everybody do it the way that you like to do it. I'm just excited for this I guess it's going to make it like stiffer. So it's going to be like starch. And I've never really used starch. I mean, obviously, I've ironed my whole life. I ironed my father's clothes when I was young. And I think we had starch back then. We had a starch spray. But I've never ironed anything much. Oh, in school, up in the 80s, I had my collars up to here starched. I remember that. We starched everything, my jean jackets, the collars. We wore the Oxford shirts with the collars as straight and high as they could be. So, yeah, I guess we were having a lot of starch back then. The only thing about it for me is I don't make any quilts to hang up. All my quilts are used, so I don't really need the starch. But I think it's just going to be for the when I'm pressing it. You know, now that I think about it, I don't even think the best press is a starch. I think it's just to make it lay flatter. I still have more research to do on that. I wash the quilts right when they're done. So if it is starch, it's all going to get washed out. I guess it'll be just good for the cutting and the cutting and the pressing. Oh, well, I'll see. I'll let you know because I'm going to do it soon. I'm going to order it very soon. As soon as I can get on the computer and play around on, Amazon. That's another one of my favorite things to do. I thought I ordered ink from my printer the other day, but of course it hasn't come. And we seem to get a lot of packages around here. And every day I'm like, did anybody see my ink for it's a, laser ink for my printer. And I just talked to my daughter because we have quite a few different accounts. And I thought, well, maybe I did it on her account. And she said, yes, she saw it in there and it was in a saved for later. So I never ordered it. And I'm hoping that it comes really quick because I did end up having to just jump in just to put it back in my basket and pay and let it come through today so I could have it immediately. Because my other jobs, I need a printer at my fingertips. Top, I gotta still measure this so I can tell you how big it is. Okay, so my quilt measures 34 by 36. I love it. Here's how my quilt top came out. And I'm going to use this for the back end. So it's going to be very busy on the back too. I love how it came out. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Remember to keep it simple. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching. Bye.